So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me today for our Excel Basics Lesson 4. And in today's session, we're going to cover move, copy, and hide tabs. We're going to talk about setting the print area. We're also going to use the remove duplicates function. And we're also going to look at subtotals. So, in case you don't know me, my name is Katie Lebeds, and I am the president of Learning to Lean. We are a continuous improvement consulting, training, and coaching company. And I am also the co owner of Top Knot Virtual Assistants. And we are a virtual assistant company providing services such as email management, calendar management, copywriting, social media management, project management, and more. So, again, thanks for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully, you've joined along the way. And if you want to be added to the Excel group that has the download of all of these Excel files that I work with each week, please just drop me a message and I'd be happy to add you to that group. Okay, so as we previously mentioned, we're first going to look at move, copy, and hiding tabs. So when I'm talking about tabs, I'm talking about these tabs down at the bottom of the screen. So these are known as your tabs in your workbook or your worksheet. And sometimes we have a need to either move these tabs around, or we want to maybe copy one of these tabs into another spreadsheet, or make a copy of one of these tabs within our own spreadsheet. Sometimes you want to just maybe leave your original data alone and create another tab just to be able to play with the data to see what it looks like. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. So I'm clicking over here on my monthly actuals tab. And the monthly actuals tab is the data that we've been working with over the past couple weeks. And I want to show you how to, first of all, move it in the lineup here. And then I'm going to show you how to make a copy of it and even put it into a new worksheet if you need to. So first of all, any of these tabs, you can drag and drop them by holding down your left mouse button. So let's say I wanted my monthly actuals tab to be in front of my budget tab. So all I do is hold down my left mouse button, and I drag that tab to wherever I want it to be. So sometimes you need to have a specific format in regards to your tabs and where they should be located because of a customer requirement or because of a reporting requirement. So that's why it's helpful to be able to know how to move these tabs. Now, sometimes we want to create a copy of that data on that tab. So when we create a copy, it literally copies this entire tab, all the data, all of the your graphs that are in there, everything that's in this particular tab, it's either you're moving it or copying it. So again, I clicked on my monthly actuals tab, I right-clicked on it, and I clicked move or copy. Now, there's two options here. Now, first of all, move means that you are literally removing that tab from this particular worksheet and moving it to someplace else. So that means it will no longer exist in this file. So just keep that in mind. I think sometimes people misunderstand that, and they actually need to do a copy instead of a move. So first of all, whatever we want to do, Excel is asking us, do you want to move or copy this tab into this spreadsheet workbook that we're using right now, lesson 4? Or do you want to create a new workbook? So let's say we want to create a new workbook and have this monthly actuals tab as part of it. So I'm going to select new book, and I'm going to select create a copy. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I want a copy of this monthly actuals tab in a new Excel file. If I don't select create a copy, it will literally remove this monthly actuals tab from this file and put it in a new workbook. So I just want to create a copy. So I selected new book in create copy and OK. So as you can see, I have a new book here. It's called Book One. That's the default for Excel. And it is copied over my monthly actuals tab and all the data and all the charts in it. Now, if I go back to my original file, lesson 4, you can see that my monthly actuals tab is still there. That's because I created a copy. Now, you can also create a copy of this monthly actuals tab within this same workbook. So again, sometimes I do that because I know that this file is good, it looks good, but maybe I want to manipulate that file a little bit. I just want to kind of have a play file, I guess you would say, something to play around with. So I right click on my monthly actuals tab again. I go to that same function, move or copy, and I want to keep it within this workbook, the lesson 4 file that we have right now. I'm going to move it to the end and create a copy. So all it's going to do is create another tab for monthly actuals in the same file. And I click OK. And when I do that, you can see that there's a new tab called Monthly Actuals 2. It renames it by default. And as we learned in a previous session, I can just double click on this to rename it. I'm going to actually rename it Monthly Actuals Copy. And there I have it. Making sure that you realize that you can scroll through your tabs here by using these left and right arrows or on the far bottom left of your screen. So as I click that left arrow, you can see my tabs moving. And sometimes it looks like, oh my gosh, I lost one. Well, you can click your right arrow at the bottom left corner of your screen to move the other way. So it's just basically it's just a list. It's just scrolling back and forth. Okay, so I'll scroll back to lesson 4. That was how to move, copy, and now hide tabs. So let's pretend that you are giving this particular file to somebody that you work with, and you have, this tab that you've been just doing kind of like your scratch paper, right? It's just kind of the scratch paper tab. You're just doing some testing in that particular tab or looking to see what the data would look like, but you don't want to delete it and you don't really want your boss to see it. So I right click on that tab. So our monthly actuals copy tab that I just made, I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to click hide. And it's going to hide that tab. So the tab is still there. Excuse me. The tab is still there. However, it's hidden from view. If you right clicked down on your tabs again and clicked on unhide, it will ask you which sheet do you want to unhide. So I'm going to unhide my monthly actuals copy. I click OK and it pops back up. So again, if you want to hide this particular tab, I'm just going to right click on the tab at the bottom. I'm going to select hide and it hides my tab. It doesn't delete your tab. It doesn't delete your data. You could always get it back, but it does hide it from view. Okay. So our next topic for today is setting a print area. And why do you have to worry about that? Well, sometimes you have large files that have a lot of information on them, and you don't necessarily want to print everything on this file. So we're using our monthly actuals tab again. And in this circumstance, I only want to print my numerical data up here. And I don't really want to print right now. I don't need to print my graphs that I've created previously. So in order to set the print area, and basically by setting the print area, you're telling Excel, this is what I want you to print, ignore the rest. So in my monthly actuals tab, I'm going to highlight the cells by using my left mouse button. I'm going to highlight the cells that I want to have printed. So I hold down my left mouse button and I'm highlighting the cells from A1 to A15 and then all the way over to that total by item column, which is N as in Nancy, and then I let go. So I'm telling Excel, this is the only thing I want printed. If I had to print something, this is the only thing I want printed on that sheet. Now I'm going to go up to the top of the screen and I'm going to click on the tab for page layout. And then I'm going to select print area. And then I'm going to say set print area. So now I've just told Excel, when I go to print this page, if you need to print it, when I go to print this page, it's only going to print this information. It's not going to print the percentage column or the grand total or any of these graphs. Okay, so when I'm talking about printing, I'm talking about actually printing on a printer. And then you can make those configurations if you want it landscape or portrait, if you want to size it or fit to the page, etc. So that's how to set your print area. Again, highlight what you want to set for your print area with your left mouse button holding down to highlight. You go up to page layout at the top and you select print area and set print area. If you need to change your mind because you said, oh my gosh, I really need that percentage column, you can hit clear print area and then redo it again. Highlight page layout, print area, and then set print area. So easy enough. All right. The next item that we're going to cover today is removing duplicates from a file. So why would you have duplicates? Well, sometimes you get data that has been delivered to you via one means or the other. They could be coming from a download from a software system. It could be a report that maybe the training group or HR is delivered to you. And it has a lot of information in it, but maybe you just need really a subset of that information. So this is my example file. I've created a new tab for this duplicate example, and we're pretending in this tab that HR and the training department have given me the list of everybody that was in my department that has taken classes throughout the year. Well, I really just want to see the names of people that have taken at least one of my Excel classes. I don't necessarily need to know that Shirley Smith took Excel 1 on January 1st with Dale, Aaron, Sam, and Laura, and Doug, and Sally, and Georgia. So I just want to see the list of all of the students that have ever taken one of my classes. That's all I care about at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight using my left mouse button. I'm going to highlight my data. I'm just going to highlight the columns. I don't need to be uber specific by scrolling to the bottom here of my actual data set. I'm just going to highlight the columns. Also, you want to make note that my particular data set has headers. Remember, we covered headers before. I always find that it's good practice to make sure that you have headers of your data. So when you do things like subtotals or group by or sorting or removing duplicates, you have these column names or your headers for each column instead of trying to figure out just by column A, B, C. As your spreadsheets can get wider, right? You're going to have a lot more numerical columns. So it's just a good practice to have headers for your data. It's the identification for that data in that column. So to remove duplicates, I'm going to use my left mouse button and hold it down for column A, B, and C. So I have selected columns A, B, and C. Now I'm going to go up to the Data tab at the top of the screen. And I'm going to select this really cool function called Remove Duplicates. Now, if you played with Excel in the past, you'll realize that this functionality has only appeared within the last couple releases of Excel. From somebody that's used Excel for a very long time, this is a godsend. There is another way to do this that is very manual and can be very frustrating. So thank goodness for Remove Duplicates. So now it's telling me to delete the duplicate values, select one or more columns that contain duplicates. Well, as I mentioned before, I just care about the names of the people. I just want to know from this big list, what are the names of the people that took at least one of my Excel classes? So for me, the name is important. And note up here, it also said my data has headers. So it's, again, good practice, and Excel already recognized that. So my columns, it says name, class, and date. And I just want to see the names. So I don't really care about the class or the date. I just want to see a list of the names of anybody that has taken at least one Excel class with me. So I selected the name, I deselected class and date, and I click OK. Excel will always tell me that 72 duplicate values were found and removed. 8 unique values remain. So it looked at all of my data that I had, and it said, you know what? Here are the unique names. It doesn't care about these two columns, B and C. It just looked at my names. So it said, by removing duplicates, I know that a total of 8 people have taken at least one Excel class from my department. So there's a variety of uses that you can utilize remove duplicates for. Again, it comes in very handy when you maybe have a data dump from a system. You have a list that you just need really the one column of data and you don't want to see the duplicate information. And honestly, if this was me working with this in real life, I would say, okay, thanks. That's all I needed from there. And I would either delete or hide these columns because I don't need that data anymore. This is all I was interested in, were the list of names. Okay. The last thing we're going to cover today is subtotals. So again, I'll bring up this screen a little bit so you can see it. And subtotals allows us to get either a summary or a count of information based on your selection within your data. So let's say, again, this actually was my original duplicate file that I just had from that tab, and I had made a copy of it inside this workbook earlier and renamed it subtotals. So I want to have a count of how many classes each person has taken. So how many classes did Dale take? How many total classes has Doug taken within the year? And Aaron, etc. So before I begin using my subtotal function, you need to sort your data. So you want to sort your data based on how you want it categorized. So in my example, I'm going to sort based on name because I want to know for each person how many classes that they've taken. Okay, so how do we sort? Well, you can turn on your filters, which we talked about before, but I also want to show you the sort function. And I'm going to highlight my data. So again, this data has headers. I'm going to highlight using my left mouse button, column A, B, and C. I'm going up to the Data tab at the top of my screen, and I'm going to click on Sort. Again, Excel already guesses, which it guessed correctly, that your data has headers, and it's asking you, what do you want to sort by? Well, because my columns have headers, I can select I want to sort by name, I want to sort by class, or by date. So I'm going to select I want to sort by name. I'm sorting on my cell values, so what's in the cell, and I want it alphabetically A to Z. and I click OK. So now it's sorted my data alphabetically based on the names of people. So I have all of the names. I have Dale and all of his classes. You can also sort on multiple features. So I could say sort by name and then sort by class. So it would say Dale, and then it would have these all in this numerical order like it appears right now. Let me just caution you on one thing with sorting. You want to, when you're sorting your data, you want to use either the filter function like we talked about before, so you could sort it A to Z or Z to A, or the sort feature that we just talked about. Right next to the sorting feature here on the data tab, there are two functions. One says sort A to Z and one says sort Z to A. If I just had my cursor in the name column or column A, or I selected column A and I tried to sort A to Z, all it's going to do is sort my column data in A alphabetically from A to Z. It does not bring along this corresponding data. So I would not have a match then for Dale, who took Excel on January 1st of 2019. So when I sort by using those features, the best way to explain it is it doesn't take the rest of the data on your spreadsheet into consideration. So if you only had one column of data and you wanted to sort it, sure, you can use that function. I just think it's best practice to actually use either the filter or the sort feature and stay away from those other two quick options, because it could skew your data or actually misalign and mess up your data. Okay, so now that we've sorted our data based on the name, because that's what I'm interested in how many classes Dale has taken, and then Doug, and then Aaron, etc. I am going to highlight my data. So I want to look at columns A, B, and C. And I am going to go to Data tab at the top, and then Subtotal over here to the right. I highlight my columns of data that I want to use. I click on the Data tab at the top of the screen, and then I click on Subtotal to the far right. So now my subtotal screen comes up, and I have some different selections to use. So I am telling it at each change in my name column, so that's why we sorted our data. So it's saying each time Excel sees a change in the name column, so it goes from Dale Jones 10 times to Doug Fern, that's a flag to Excel that something's changed. I want to use the count function because I just want to know how many classes that they had attended. So it's just going to count the classes that they have attended. As you can see, there's other functions. You can use sum, average, max, min, or product. Typically, in my experience, I probably use count and sum the most. So today we're just going to count how many classes each person has taken. And then it says add the subtotal to name, class, or date. I have date selected because it's just what it's asking here is, where do you want me to show you the subtotal? It's not going to add up your dates. It's just going to put that subtotal or the count of each class that the person has taken by name in that date column. I click OK. So again, it looks at the change in the name column. So when the name changes, that's why we sorted the data, count how many, we're telling it to count how many classes or how many instances are there, and add that to the date column. I click OK, and now you can see that it went through and it said, okay, there was a change. Oh, right here. It went from Dale Jones to Doug Fern. And it said, all right, so the instructions we gave it was, at that point that you see a name change, count how many instances or how many lines of data there were above it. So that there are 10 instances. In this case, Dale attended 10 Excel classes. So it gives me the grand total of 10 in column C. Goes down again, looks and says, okay, Doug, 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 Doug. Oh, changed to Aaron. So I need to count how many Dougs there were, basically. There are 10 instances of Doug Fern. And so I'm going to put Doug Fern count. If we are using the sum function, it would have said Doug Fern sum. And then it gives me my number over here. If you have a lot of data, this can be kind of a lot to digest. So there's a quick way to just show you the subtotals themselves. On the left-hand side of your screen, there are 3 numbers, 1, 2, and 3. And this just has to do with how this information is grouped. If I click on the to function, then it will show me just the list of the subtotals that it has created. So again, at each change in the name, it counted basically how many times Dale Jones showed up, and there were 10. So I interpret that as Dale took 10 of my Excel classes, and so did Doug and Aaron and Georgia, etc. It also automatically gives you this grand count at the bottom. So your grand total, which is 80. So there were 80 overall classes that people had attended. So there's a lot you can do with subtotals. It's a pretty strong function to be able to use. It really helps you to get through your data and do some analysis. The only caveat to that is just to make sure you remember to sort your data before you start doing your subtotal function. And you're going to sort the data based on the column of information that you have that you would like to use for that subtotals. And because today we were asking Excel to count how many classes each person took, it was important then to sort alphabetically A to Z based on the name column, or in this case, column A. So those were the topics for today's session in Excel. And if there are any particular topics that you would like me to cover in next week's session, please drop me a line, send me a note, let me know what you would like to see, if there's a particular function that you struggle with, if there is a particular feature that you'd like to know more about. I'd be more than happy to go over that with you next week. So thank you so much for attending today. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic day and that you learned something new. Thanks so much. Have a great day.